Okay, Christoph, it's up.
Okay. Go ahead, Steve.
Go ahead.
Do you want to quickly talk about SuSE Cloud in general, then I can go into the demo part?
Yeah, sure. So this is Pete Chatler from SuSE. What Christoph is going to be demoing is how we've used Crowbar and integrated with SuSE Linux Enterprise Server to help set up a solution that we're bringing to the market in the next couple months. We will be offering an OpenStack-based product with SuSE branding. We actually just are in the process of starting up the beta test. So what we've been doing is working with the Crowbar team here at Dell to understand how the process can help automate the framework and automate the install process, and then been modifying that to fit into our overall install process, which is a little bit different in that we've done a different sort of packaging around Crowbar, and then Christoph is going to walk through a little more detail on that. So, Christoph, why don't you take it from there?
All right. So, yeah, on the first slide here we have a couple of details around the different components of the SuSE Cloud, and what I'll be talking about is mostly this part on the left-hand side where you see SLES as the host and Zen or KVM as the hypervisor, and then this layer SuSE Cloud, and how that is managed through Crowbar and how that is set up. So I won't go into details around the different components there. The actual SuSE Cloud bits are OpenStack, of course. So yeah, I guess that's about it. I could also mention SuSE Studio, which is a tool that we have that is used for building images and that then can push them to the SuSE Cloud or also other clouds like EC2. So that's the image creation part. And yeah, the rest, I guess, do you want to add anything to that?
That's okay. Why don't you just get right to the demo?
Okay, sure. So when you look at an empty set of boxes or hardware that you want to provision and put a cloud on, you actually need to put them through a process. And there's kind of two types of nodes in there. Or actually three types. First, there's the admin node, which, if you're familiar with Crowbar, is kind of the node that runs Crowbar and the install server part. And that's kind of the first node you put into your cluster, and I'll be demoing some of that, and I've actually set up an admin node here on one of our test clusters that's running SLES, and on top of that it runs all the components that make up Crowbar. And then there's kind of two types in it, and then that node is kind of used to provision all the rest of your nodes and turning them into different roles and making sure that they run all the components that make up the SuSE Cloud, which is basically all the OpenStack components. So, and you could subgroup those nodes into two types of things, and one is kind of control nodes that run things like the database, the message queue, also the dashboard, and these type of things. And then there is the actual compute nodes or storage nodes that you can see down here, and you can have a number of those. So when you're looking at the install process, it's kind of as I described. First, you set up your admin node, and right now it's for beta 1. It's kind of a process where you really just install SLES and then add our repositories, install the Crowbar package, and that pulls in all the dependencies that you need, and then you run an install script, which is similar to the Crowbar install script. It basically sets up Chef and puts all the things there and configures everything. And then once that is done, we'll actually be able to hop over to this demonstration here. You boot up your additional nodes that are booting from Pixie, and you start putting stuff through them. And if you've seen Crowbar demos, you've probably seen some of that. So yeah, why don't we go over and try to go to a different program here. Let's see if I can switch to my browser. So I'll add two more programs here. Let's see. So this should now change the sharing. So can you see the browser, or are you seeing the Taki process?
Both.
Yeah, let me disable this real quick.
The easiest is if you share your desktop. You have no.
I can try that, but it's pretty big. So
Yeah.
smaller. So now you should only be seeing a Firefox window. So actually, this is a very rare occasion that I'm using Windows. So forgive me for not being too fluent in this. So what you can see here right now is kind of one of our test clouds or demo clouds. And what I've done here to speed up the process is I've set up the admin node, which is basically just adding this package to it. And then I've also brought up 4 nodes in here, and I can go take a look at them. And this node actually already has one bar clamp applied to it. So this one is running Postgres already, and you can see those are Dell PowerEdge servers, 610, 6105. So those are pretty nice for deployments like this. So all the other nodes are just bare, so you can see they have just the base. They're just in the ready state. So I just allocated them so to get SLES on them. So what basically happens if a node boots up, it comes up in this discovered state and it's running an image from RAM, and then talks to the Crowbar server and basically tells it, "Hi, I'm here. What should I do?" And what I did is I used the bulk edit to actually put them into an allocated state. So looking at my bar clamps here for OpenStack, which is the SuSE Cloud components, I can see that there's one proposal that's active, and you should know that we're using Postgres in our distro here. So we've actually added bar clamps for Postgres. And so the next component that I need to apply to this is Keystone. So I'll create a Keystone proposal, and I'll just leave this here default and just apply it.
So Christoph, it might make your presentation effective if we know that we did just the same thing on the raw Crowbar.
Okay, so yeah, then
highlighting the differences.
You get an idea. It's very much the same. So if you just had that same presentation, then what I can do is kind of go in and show you some more in on the node itself. So what's basically happening now is that this is being applied to this node down here. And what we could do is we could basically finish this up and put all the components on here. I guess maybe I'm not sure what's most interesting for everybody on this or on this presentation. What do you guys want to know more? Kind of how this is different to Crowbar and what are the changes?
Yeah, that would be useful.
Go into the Q&A part of it and explain some more. But because what I would be doing is here, okay, how to install Crowbar itself. Okay, so let me try to show you my PuTTY window here. So you should see this PuTTY window. I'm not sure if you can read this. Can you see this? Okay, so basically I'm here on a node that is basically running SLES 11, or it says the SuSE Linux Enterprise Server 11. And what we have done here is when you go and list the repositories, you can see that there is kind of the standard repositories that you expect. So those are like the SLES media and the update channels. But there's another repository that's called SLE Cloud that basically has a lot of packages that make up Crowbar. So when I look at my RPM database and I look for a Crowbar package, you can see that there's a Crowbar package here, and there's a package called Crowbar Sledgehammer, which is basically a container for our sledgehammer based off of SLES. So we called it Sledgehammer, and that is basically what's being used for this. And if you look at the requires for this pack for Crowbar, then you can see it requires all the Ruby gems, all the different components, and the chef server, the CouchDB, and all these things that are usually all bundled up in this build process from Crowbar, and that this is all manageable in a traditional Linux distribution sense. Does that answer your question?
No, this is really cool. We're actually have had it on the roadmap as a let's allow people to do smaller installs rather than ISOs because it enables a better upgrade story of Crowbar itself. And cool.
Yeah, so right now it's just one big monolithic package. What we're actually working on is splitting it up and making all the bar clamps single packages so they could update single bar clamps and yeah, make Crowbar updatable in and of itself. Whereas we would be also using Crowbar for updating the cloud.
Right, and the important thing of all this is that we've actually integrated this with the normal SuSE management workflow. So in terms of how you would normally deal with adding packages and configuring the system, so it's very consistent with how how a SuSE customer would view this.
So they would be just a YAST install Crowbar?
Yeah.
And so maybe one more thing, if this is of interest, is it's this install script that goes in and configures everything. I've actually had it running in screen and have the log from that. So this is kind of the, I'll browse to this real quick. The first output here is kind of debug output to make debugging easier, and if a beta tester gives this to us, then we can easily see if you did something stupid. So what you can see here is kind of the uploading of bar clamps and the configuring of chef and all the stuff that happens for installing Crowbar. So I'll go through this. If you're familiar with Crowbar, this will be very familiar for you, I guess.
It does look very familiar, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, making sure that all works nicely on SuSE is not easy, but it does now. So all the code that we have done for Crowbar is actually in our Git repo at github.com/SuSE-cloud, and it's in a special branch that we have in that repo. And we'll be upstreaming those in the coming weeks.
Cool.
So Christoph, Andy was asking why it was hard to map it to SuSE, just because the library structure, the file hierarchy is different?
There's a couple of issues in there. So first of all, because Crowbar has all these chef recipes that are not necessarily written with SuSE in mind, we have to go through all of those and make sure they actually apply to SuSE and do things the SuSE way, so to speak. And that's not only package names, but also some kind of locations for configuration files and all these kind of things. So it was basically also porting Chef to SuSE and making sure it runs smoothly. And then there's also a couple of things that we have removed that we didn't feel like using in the distribution, things like Blue Pill to giving services up, and a couple of others like Nginx. We didn't want to add that to the distribution, so we kind of rewrote some of, or kind of changed some of the bar times to use Apache instead, for example, or made sure that all the components that make up, or all the dependencies that are there for Crowbar, like Chef and Solar and CouchDB and all that, is configured in a way that it's manageable in the distribution. So we're going through all the things, making sure they're integrated and tested and work on the distribution.
Cool. So if we bubble up for who are you targeting as users of this solution?
Mostly, our target are really large, very large enterprises that are looking to implement cloud. Obviously, try to make it as simple as possible for them to get up and running as quickly as possible.
Makes sense.
Which is why we picked Crowbar. We thought it was a good framework to get the installation going fast.
Yeah, it's important to note that SuSE has an OpenStack distribution. So in order for you to get support and something that's tested and validated, you can either go to the community version of OpenStack and do all the stuff yourself, or go to companies that provide you with distribution. SuSE is one of the companies. The other company is Canonical, which provides an OpenStack distribution. So something just to keep in mind as you start building out your OpenStack deployments. Are there other things as part of the SuSE deployment that you'd like to highlight, other than the crowbar piece?
No, I think really the goal here was just to demonstrate that we have integrated crowbar.
Yeah.
And really built it into, I think, kind of some of the stuff that Christoph was trying to show us is how well we've integrated it with the normal SuSE processes. It's like the question here in the room, can you install it with something? I don't know if we've done YAST dialogues for it, that you use Zipper, which is the update tool that lies behind YAST anyway.
Yeah, and we're considering for some of, because you have to do some configuration before you actually bootstrap crowbar, things like deciding about your network host structure, and we're debating to maybe doing even a YAST frontend for that to make that even easier for people to set up and to be kind of guided through this initial steps that they need to put in place.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt the demo before.
That's okay. No, that's fine. You guys have any questions?
Any other questions in the room?
OpenFox on IRC.
So I see there's a question on the IAM thing.
What's going on in a sample bar clamp?
So did you want to answer that, anybody from Dell, or should I explain kind of what the bar clamp does?
We went through that whole demo. I guess the person is asking the question maybe we didn't go through that, but bar clamp is basically at its simplest level, it's a chef cookbook and a chef recipe. So it applies that and makes sure that the appropriate configuration parameters of Nova or whatever it is that you are deploying are applied. So it's a proposal essentially. So if you want to show some code behind it, that might be useful, Christoph.
Yeah, I was just going to go to some of the recipes here.
Yeah.
So what I can show here, for example, is so I went through to the Opstel Chef Cookbooks Nova Recipes directory where some of the stuff is stored. And what you can see here is, for example, the Nova Compute recipe, and you can see that we added stuff like platform is SuSE, and then are doing some things like enabling libvirt when this is applied, and making sure that the right packages are installed, like packages like KVM or QEMU, and that's kind of what's happening for us here. So we could let's see if we can show something else. So a bar clamp always consists of a chef recipe and then also some kind of crowbar framework part, which is the web front-end part that makes it configurable. And you could also go to that if you're interested in that, but I guess that's kind of enough for code here. Or did you want to see more? Can't see, it's answering. Okay, good. So you get the idea then.
Okay. There are no other questions?
Well, Marius
Questions,
is saying you'd like to see what's not chef as part of a bar clamp. So what are the
Okay, so from a bar clamp, we can go to the crowbar framework part here, which is the Rails application. In there, you can see that there are views, and if we were looking at the Nova, for example, there is.
Well, the more interesting part would be in the model. Can you bring up?
All right, I can also bring up the model here. I was going to show the views because that kind of maps the HTML to what you guys actually see. So we can also look at the node object, for example.
US number.
So you can see some of the Rails code that's here.
So part of
this is kind of the state engine, and
well, part of the discussion we were having earlier was about a bar clamp is just the chef stuff. There isn't a whole lot of interesting stuff. One of the interesting stuff in Nova, and feel free to jump in, by the way, is the whole part about network management and allocating. So if you look for allocate_IP, it's not that it's that impressive, it's just that it's it's kind of nice it happens behind the scenes for you.
Yeah, we need to get started with the NStatus presentation shortly, so if there are other questions.
I think we have at the, sorry, are you on spec? Do you see the thing?
Yeah, it's here. So, Christoph, we need to switch to the next presentation from NStatus. So thanks for your time. This was recorded, so we'll replay this session later in the evening too.
all right, that's great. So maybe just before I go, I was applying more bar clamps as I was showing code. So in here, going back to the browser, I was just going to apply the last proposal here for the Nova dashboard that would actually then conclude the OpenStack deployment. And if you bear with me just 1 second, that should conclude very soon. And this will actually then give me a full 4-node cloud-based stuff of OpenStack all running SLES. So SuSE Linux Enterprise-based OpenStack deployment, all done through Crowbar. So thanks a lot. And if anybody is interested in hopping on the data, I think talk to Pete and he'll probably share some of the things with you.
One more quick question. What VM images, if folks are interested in running SLES as a VM on top of OpenStack, then are those accessible somewhere?
So the easiest way to build images for that is SuSeStudio.com. You can sign up for free here. It's a free service. You can build images off OpenSUSE and or SLES in this web service. So I'll just log in real quick. That's the demo in and of itself. Let's see. So I can create an appliance here. I can then select the operating system that I want to build this on. So I can do OpenSUSE or I can do SLES. I'll just do a juice image here. Then I'll click Create Appliance. And then all it takes is kind of go in here, do some software selection if I wanted to. I can also change configuration and some more things here. But kind of last thing I can do is go to the Build tab here and hit Build. And after a couple of minutes, I'll actually get a ready-to-download image that I can either just download or even publish to the cloud somewhere.
Cool.
All from this web service inside my browser. So if you want to try that out, go to SuSeStudio.com.
Perfect. Sorry about the background music. Apparently we bored somebody and they put us on hold.
Somebody has real-life music there.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Christoph.
All right, you're welcome.
We're going to switch to NStatus here in a few minutes.
Let's take a 30 seconds break while we dial the support services here to mute the music.
Please have your passcode and conference leader's name available. A coordinator will assist you momentarily.
Okay, so how do we get this going? We have to give him this conference room number. Give me the US number.
Excuse me, I called your line from conference. Did you need assistance?
Yes, two quick questions. How do we, somebody put us on hold and there's music on the line?
Okay, sir. I'll place you back in and I'll try and, do you want that line disconnected or muted?
Muted, please.
Okay, one moment, sir.
Thank you.
You will now be placed into conference.
866-803-2141.
Participant code.
No, sir. 3986 296. All right. I think we're back without music, and we're getting the Enstratus folks ready for their demo.
And I've got the line open for the Stratus. Can you hear me, Andy?
Yes, Rob. And we
Is George there with you?
so